Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the live stream of the 2017 New Room Conference. I'm Heath Mulliken, along with Tony Casey, and we got a special guest with us again. He is Adam Weber. He lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He likes typewriters, drives a Rambler, cheers for the Cincinnati Bengals, has 4 chickens, and a dog named Daisy. He's the lead pastor of Embrace, a 10-year-old church plant that has grown to 6 campuses in 2 states. He and his beautiful wife, Becky, have 4 kids. Fun fact. He once made worldwide news when a turkey vulture fell out of the sky and onto his back porch during an ice storm. Tony says, Google it.
Yes,
He's also the author of the recent book, Talking with God, What to Say When You Don't Know How to Pray. Adam, thank you so much for being with us here today.
I'm grateful to be here.
In a moment, we want to get to your book, but I'm still processing this afternoon and what you had to say. It was so good. And well, here's what I can't get away from. Like, we are so wired for formulas. Tell me what to do, how to do this. And one of the things that struck me as you were speaking is how we just have this leaning as believers and as a church to underestimate the power of God. I mean, you would think of all people, we'd be the ones who would champion it, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why is that why do we fall into this trap?
I think there's a bunch of different things that add to it. Just us as humans wanting to be in control, and also just wanting to be self-sufficient. I mean, kind of this pull yourself up by your own bootstraps type of approach. I know for me, being from South Dakota, one of the things we do well is we work hard.
Right.
So you just kind of work hard, and that's what you do. You have a strong work ethic. And so on a daily basis, it's easy to totally live disconnected to God and His power, and especially if we haven't seen it. In seminary, one of the things that used to always grieve me is we'd only hear about God stories on other continents.
Right.
And so God was moving here and God was moving here, but I never heard stories about God moving in the United States.
Right.
And so I think there's maybe a lack of experience of seeing God move. And yet, our God is the same God found in the Bible. He's unchanged.
Yeah.
I mean, He's the same today, yesterday, and forever. And so I think there's just that lack of experience of seeing God move. There's the self-sufficiency, and then just maybe just a lack of understanding of who God is. Like I even as pastors, I think there's a lack of understanding of who God is and that He is a God who can truly move mountains.
Yeah, I wondered, as I was thinking through this question in my own heart and mind after you were done speaking, again, trying to process it all. We're so defined by our professions, and you can get so sucked into that and defined by what we're doing as opposed to letting God be the definition of who we are and as a kind of a starting point for us.
Oh, so true. I know for me, even on a weekly basis, one of the greatest burdens, holy burdens that I carry as message prep, just preparing a sermon. And yet my wife will often remind me on days that I come home and it's not done when I want it to be done.
Right.
She'll say, Adam, has there ever been a time that God hasn't provided?
Yeah.
And it's like, the answer is no. I mean, He's provided every single time for 11 years. That's a pretty good track record. And so, like, for me, I'm trying to, and analyze myself and challenge me. It's like, why do I wait till I'm at the end of my rope to ask for God's power instead of the very first thing? It's like, okay, God, here's an obstacle. My very first reaction is to get on my knees and ask for your power.
And I walked you down the hall. People's reaction to what you said today. The thing is what you were saying is we all identified with that. I mean, like that. It's our last option instead of our first option. It was just really good, and I think God used it. He's going to continue to use that, and it's still ringing in my ears.
Well, I'm so grateful too when it comes to God's power. When we're weak, He makes us strong. Because I think so often it's like when we're strong, then He makes us stronger. That's not that. I don't find that anywhere in the Bible. I mean, but that's how we so often live. And it's like, no, when we're weak, He makes us strong. When we declare our weakness, when we declare our shortcomings, when we declare how inadequate we are, and we ask for God's power, that's when He shows up. Because then He gets all the credit and glory.
Yeah. Well, Heath, let's talk about this book.
Well, first of all, tell us what's going on in South Dakota. You guys are one of the fastest growing churches in the United Methodist Church. Some of the fastest growing churches in the Wesleyan denomination are in South Dakota. Keith Lloyd's out there at Celebrate Community Church.
Fountain Springs Church in Rapid City is a great church too.
So what God is doing something. Can you just Give us some examples.
It's just been powerful just to see God move. And I was just talking with a local pastor here in Tennessee about people outside the church. Back home, there's definitely there's a lack of knowledge of a personal relationship with God. Right. So I grew up and I had never heard about a relationship with Jesus until I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
And I grew up, we rarely ever missed church.
Yeah.
And I would say most of my high school classmates have never heard about a relationship with Jesus. I didn't know there was Christian music, didn't know there was whatever.
Heartbreak when you say you're raised in the church.
And for me, legalism was get baptized as an infant, make it through confirmation, go to church every so often, and don't drive your mother crazy. I mean, that's all. And so I think there's just telling people about Jesus in a way that they can understand with. That they can connect and understand is what everybody says, what's the secret sauce? And I'm like, tell the people about Jesus. And they're like, no, we're looking for the solution. No, actually just tell the people about Jesus in a way they can understand and then pray and ask God to move. So that's what's happening.
That's awesome.
And I'm so grateful it's not just one church, but it's a bunch of different churches that are doing some great things. Ransom Church is another Wesleyan. That's doing great things. Phil Tague is one of the best.
So your book released earlier this year. It's called Talking with God, What to Say When You Don't Know How to Pray. I think in this book you're saying a lot of things we've all wanted to say. You actually took the time to write a book about it. So what was the heart behind it?
Yeah, my hope was that it would connect with two different audiences. The first person is the person who, whether they grew up in the church or not, is just curious about prayer.
Right.
And what is prayer? And it's weird, even if you didn't grow up in the church, prayer is something you've heard about. Anytime we go through a disaster, natural disaster, our thoughts and prayers are with you, or there's a tragedy, our thoughts and prayers. Because you've heard the word prayer said so often, it almost feels like if you're an adult, you should know how to do it.
Right.
And so it kind of feels like one of those things where after a certain time that you've worked with a coworker, it's just awkward to ask their name. You know, it's like, I should really know
I should know this.
You know? I think that's the same feeling with prayer, is just that. So my hope was that it was for the new Christian or not yet Christian to read. But then on the flip side, for someone who's followed Jesus for years or decades, hopefully just a combination of just talking about Jesus and also a combination of my cheesiness and just willing to share good, bad, and otherwise. Hopefully it just sparks something new in a person who's maybe been following God for years of like, man, I've been in a rut in my prayer life. Where the book came from, I honestly didn't want to write a book. I still can't believe I wrote a book. But just the opportunity kept coming up, and so I finally caved and said yes. Awesome.
So it's available on Amazon. Where are some other ways online if people want to connect with you, follow you? Where can they go to do that?
You can find me kind of all the social media platforms. I'm most active on Twitter and on Instagram. So on Twitter, it's just adamweber.com. On Instagram, it's Adam A. Weber. So come find me. And that's, I mean, I will see it.
I understand your second book is going to be How to Start a Campfire.
Oh,
Dude, that was an awesome story. I was dying the whole time.
It's one of those moments where you look back and you're like, can I have a redo? Like, can we just start over? You know? So,
and your wife saying when you brought the bottle rockets, haven't we had enough?
Haven't we had enough? And
Thanks for telling that story, man.
Every part of it, I'm like, this is truly who I am as a person. I mean, as I'm up there, I'm like, I should not be this.
So funny.
Adam has spoken at several of the regional New Room conferences. You can see all those videos on the Seedbed Vimeo page. I encourage you to go do that. I heard him in Atlanta. Just absolutely amazing. Adam, we want to thank you for not just what you share, but being with us and just allowing God to use you. It's really inspiring to just see what he is doing. So we're going to be back tonight, 7:20, leading into our 7:30 worship time. And tonight, a really special interview with Sandy Miller, who is the founder of the Alpha course, if you know, the discipleship curriculum. And then following that, Tony, we got Lo Alaman and Mark Swayze. We're going to be interviewing them after the service tonight. Really excited to hear from them. Mark's going to share a little bit about ministry in Houston now.
Right, what's going on.
Following the hurricane. So I'm excited. So, hey, thanks for being here with us. We're trucking right along. Great conference, great speakers. So for Adam and Tony, this is Heath Mulliken, and we'll see you later tonight.